Welcome to the Chat Marketing Podcast, your number one place to learn actionable strategies and tips that help you have more profitable conversations with your customers. This podcast is here to help you grow your business by better understanding your customers, speak to them on another level, and grasp the opportunities that lie in the chat marketing industry. And now, let's get chatting with your host, live from Melbourne, Australia, successful chat marketer and entrepreneur, Dan Pinney.
All right, welcome to today's episode of the Chat Marketing Podcast. If you're creating a chatbot and when you go to compose your message that will be sent, you think, what the hell do I say? Well, I've got today's guest on to help simplify what to write and how to get a reaction. Allan is our guest today, who is an award-winning chat marketer that uses her skill in conversion copywriting to get results for her clients. She used to be a journalist, so she knows how to tell a story with words, and in this episode she talks about how she's adapted her craft to the chat marketing space and has some incredibly valuable tips to help. She's also a fellow Aussie, which you'll have to forgive some of our references to Australian pop culture and slang that might not make any sense to our international listeners. Might need to put some clarifications or a glossary of terms in the show notes, but it's a really enjoyable chat. So let's get into this very upbeat interview with Angela Allan of angelaallan.com. Hello, folks, and welcome to episode 4 of the Chat Marketing Podcast. And look, I know this is an audio podcast, but unfortunately one of the drawbacks, for your sake especially, is that you don't get the visual aspect of our guest today, who has, might I say, one of the best heads of hair that I've ever seen, the best blonde curly locks out there, and she's also, probably more importantly, a very talented chat marketer and copywriter. Angela Allan, welcome to the Chat Marketing Podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is like one of the best intros I have. And funny story is Leo Sayer, who has the beautiful, the singer, he's Australian as well. So he has the beautiful locks of hair, and his hair is amazing. And he got his name Leo Sayer because he looks like Leo the lion because of the beautiful locks of curly hair.
I
right?
did not know that.
Funny thing is, I'm a Leo and my hair looks like this. I'm like, I'm going to market this to the max now. And people have actually found me in crowds who've connected with me on LinkedIn, and they've found me in crowds just on my hair. It's so weird. It happened at a conference. She's like, oh my God, is that Angela? I know you on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my Lord.
That's the bot lady.
Yeah,
there you go. Nice. It's your own little marketing tactic. I love it.
I know when with curly hair usually keeps it curly, right? Because it's so hard to maintain, and I can attest to the fact that it is a full-time job to maintain it. But you know what? Like when when you have really good products and you take care of it, it does make a statement. So I'm here to make a statement.
Very true. Well, we're focusing on the big issues here to start off with.
Yeah, it's a very important issue.
And also, secondly, most importantly, might I say, it's also nice. No respect to the other guests I've had in the other time zones around the world, but it is lovely to have a chat to a fellow Melburnian. No doubt you can hear by our accent that we are both currently in lockdown at the moment. So it's a great time to be able to connect and chat about all things conversations and chat marketing as well. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you started to get into chat marketing.
Sure. So I was a journalist first. So I worked with Fairfax Media, Australian Rolling Stone, Australian Penthouse, and FHM. So my favorite lame joke to give is, yes, why I have double page spread, but it's not the one you're thinking of. So as a journalist for Rolling Stone, I met a lot of people, and one of them was the GM for Australian Independent Record Labels Association. He asked me to be the social media director for their annual AIR Awards. So I did that for 5 years, and I also helped as an event consultant for Miss Universe Australia and Miss World. So I also work a lot with events and event marketing as well. So from there, I was headhunted to lead Australia's first brand-led newsroom at an ad agency here in Melbourne, which is really exciting. So I went to work on various campaigns, and then from there, I worked with other ad agencies. I worked on The Voice Australia, Ford, Sydney Opera House, and I also worked with dating expert Matthew Hussey as a copywriter, and I built his messenger bot for his appearance on the Aussie TV show last year or the year before, I think, called The Single Wives. So from there, went to Crown. Crown was lots of big thing here in Melbourne. It's got properties in Melbourne and Perth. And the one project that I got to lead, very fortunate, was San Antonio by Bloodzo's Barbecue, which is co-owned by sixth generation barbecue pitmaster Kevin Bloodso. I'm going to do a really quick shout out to Kevin because he's a really good friend of mine. And you can see him right now in the Netflix series, The American Barbecue Showdown. So if you're a big barbecue fan like I am, go check out Kevin. He's a judge on there and he's a lovely, lovely man. And so one thing that always fascinated about me about all these businesses I worked on, like lots of major brands and tiny homegrown businesses, I've done it all. They were really slow to adopt a digital platform. So social media was just posting for the sake of posting with very little strategy. A lot of them were so terrified of digital transformation that it was really obvious they were going to get left behind. And I remember one time at Crown, we had a Pokemon Go thing and the Pokemons were showing up at, was that the one where you had to go chase the Pokemon? I think that's Pokemon Go, right?
That's right. That's right. That's correct. Yeah.
One of them turned up at the Crown Fountain, which if you've been to Crown, it's this huge atrium with this beautiful fountain. One of them turned up there and we posted the photo of it. And I remember our CMO was awesome. He was really digital first, but everyone else on the management team, it's like they were terrified that they were going to encourage underage people to end up at Crown at the gambling facilities, right? So they're like, you have to remove it. We can't have Pokemon Go on our Instagram. I'm like, what? You know, like these kinds of conversation you're having with brands that are like huge about like, why can't you use social in a way that's like fun and digital transformation and embrace it rather than being like reactive and panicking every 5 seconds? And that's how I felt like a lot of them were doing it. It was like reactive marketing. It was really, really strange being, you know, digital native.
And how do you have those conversations with the people that are dragging their feet a little bit and are reluctant to change? Because I reckon we've all been there at some stage with businesses we've either worked with or in as well.
I think they just don't understand. Like I just had a conversation this morning with another, with a chatbot that I'm building, and they really don't understand. Like you see some really, like I'm going to use chat marketing as an example. You see some really bad chatbots out there. I'm sorry, but I've seen some really bad ones. And I think it's a matter of talking about educating them. Like I just do, whenever I do a pitch now, I actually put together the proposal and I actually do a video and I talk through my proposal saying, this is what this means. This is why you should be excited. These are some stats about Messenger. This is like what I propose that you do. And this is what is already being done, but it's not doing well because of this reason, X, Y, and Z. And it's fun. And I think for chat marketing, people are creating chatbots just for the sake of chatbots, and they're not really doing anything strategy-wise. Like they're meant to help with sales, marketing, automation, operations, right? Customer service. But they're not really addressing that. The one I went to today was just like a fun one that was meant to do something, but kind of didn't. And then when I left it, because as you do, you get distracted, and I went and checked another notification, came back 5 minutes later, and then I had to restart the bot. And I'm like, why am I restarting the bot and going through the same thing? Again, it should have just picked up where I left off. So I think having conversations where you like educate them, explain to them why this is a really important platform and you need to be on it, and then showing them what's really good and what isn't really good, and then just giving them like even like I do screen records now. I'll build a dummy demo and I will screen record and tell them this is what it does, this is how it's going to work. It's literally 30 seconds, takes you about 10 minutes to build, and it does, you will get an email like straight away. Like it is that good to do it that way. And that's how you have those conversations, because people are visual. So you got to remember, like if they can see it and you can talk and educate them through it, then they'll be less resistant to it. And that's what I find is the main thing. Especially this was like Crown was the example of Crown and Pokemon Go was before all of chat marketing became, something that people know about. But it was so many stakeholders in that company. As with lots of large corporations, there are many stakeholders. So
how do you then evolve your career into what you not only build them, but you bring them to life through copy now as well?
Yeah, so it's I build, and so I learned how to code. So I started my own magazine, Soot Magazine. So I taught myself to code. So I knew how to code. I knew all of that. But with ManyChat, who we all love and worship, that made it a lot easier. And then I thought, well, copy is a really important space in anything. So in your landing pages, in your emails, in anything that you do, it's really important to have good copy, because that's what people are going to respond to the most. In terms of like, strategy is great, the tech is great, as long as that's not overblown, your copy is going to be what they're reading and what they need to actually do to take action. So you need that to be working. So I can actually share with you 5 rules that help people give good copy in chatbots.
Let's get straight into it.
Getting straight into it. So like the one thing I tell people, my rule number 1 is you've got to keep it conversational. So it's a conversation, but it's like friendly and it's structured. So like if you think about when you're in English class and like your teacher was like, hey, we're going to learn how to write fiction stories, right? You're going to have two characters talking to each other. So if you remember, like what the teacher would have said is like when these two characters are having a conversation, they are having a conversation that is structured where the the whatever else you have as a normal human being is removed. So that's kind of like the same thing I ask people to remember if they're writing for a chatbot. It's going to be a conversation, but obviously you're going to remove all those ahs and whatever and thinking kind of pauses that they do. So that's what I like people to think. Think of a character in your head, two characters speaking the way you would with fiction. And that's how the kind of conversation you want your chatbot to have with your users.
That's a really important point, I think, to get across to people, particularly when they're starting out, is that when people think about chatbots just as a whole, or the word bot, I think almost chatbots have this branding problem where people think that chatbots are these cold, impersonal type programs that are all AI developed and don't have any human kind of aspects behind them. But this tactic can really help with that.
For sure, because you've got to like remember that humans are going to use it. So humans as inherent, and we would know this being in lockdown, we crave human connection. So Correct. Your chatbot is still meant to be human. So it's so funny because it's a bot, but it's human. So I always tell people, you keep it personal. Don't forget to use personalization. So you can insert your subscriber's name into videos and images using Nifty, which is really handy. So Everyone wrote down Nifty. You haven't used it before. Humans love to interact. As I said, we love to interact with each other. So you can approach your subscribers like a friend. If you want to do a smart delay, after a message, you can say, hey, I'm just dropping in here really quick to share this with you, or you can use, hey, I totally forgot to send you this. Like you can be really fun and friendly in there as well. If that's your brand, you can even use it. If your brand's a bit more polished, you can also use this as a variation. You just tweak it and say, I noticed you didn't do X, Y, and Z, if that's something you wanted to do after like a 5 or 10 minute smart delay, just a reminder of them, or even an upsell.
Sure.
But like people forget to have fun with it as well. Like I've had like, why do you not have GIFs in there? Why do you not have images? Why don't you have emojis? Like it's meant to be fun and interactive. Like have fun with it. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like some aren't having fun with it. Like I had to work on a bot recently and we were working together on it. It was a whole bunch of us, and we got the answers, and I got the answers for a quiz, and when someone got the answer incorrectly, someone had written, no, that answer is incorrect. That, can you imagine as a user getting that message?
Yeah.
Like how bad would you feel? Like I'd feel like I'm the biggest loser. Like right now, this bot is telling me I'm a loser. Like no one wants to hear that. Everyone wants to be like reassured and told you're doing the right thing, right? So you change that to, instead of saying, no, that answer is incorrect, you go, oh, you were so close. Like this is the correct answer. Like let's try another one. And I think I put in a get smart GIF, and Well Smart's going, ooh, you missed it that much. Yeah. So it's got that in there. It's like immediately you're like, oh my God, that's so funny. And I want to do the next question. And like immediately I want to, keep going with this rather than go, no, that answer is incorrect. Like that would be horrible. Someone said that to me in person, like I would cry.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point around inserting rich media like GIFs, like images in there. A lot of people don't realize when they're building chatbots, they have that capacity, not only media, but you can put video, you can even put sound clips or PDFs maybe as a result for the quizzes and stuff like that. But the ability to insert that and send that media to them directly into their messenger inbox is incredibly powerful. So we've got conversational, and we've got fun. What else have we got?
Tone of voice. You have to remember your tone of voice is really important. So this is how the character of your business comes through in your words, both written and spoken. So it's the way you say things, and it's as well as the impression that it makes on anyone who reads your copy or like hears you or sees you, right? So you need to make sure that it matches either your, like I'm a personal brand. So if you go into my chatbot, it's me, there's a video of me greeting you and it sounds like me. If you talk to me, I very much do these kinds of things with my chatbot as I would in real life. I literally have conversations with people in just GIFs, and we all communicate that way. So they know it's me. They know they're going to get a GIF at the end, or something's going to be really cheeky and tongue in cheek. But if I was doing other brands I've worked with, like education institutes, they're a little bit more polished. Like I still had fun with them. but they were a little bit more polished and a bit more reserved in the way they addressed things. They still praised people for taking the correct action with a button or filling out something correctly, but it was just a little bit less like not yeehaw as mine is.
Yep.
It was a little bit step back. So you really need to work out what your tone of voice is for your brand or your client's brand. And oftentimes if you're working with bigger clients, they'll send you a tone of voice guide and be able to do that. But you can still have fun with GIFs, and you've just got to remind them that, you know, this is the language of chatbots, like GIFs, emojis, all of this stuff is the language of chatbots. So even if they feel like they're a bit more polished and reserved, like you can still fight for the GIFs and the emojis to be in there, because that's the type of conversation that you should be having. Like, you know, how you would communicate via text message or messenger with your friends is how you should be communicating with your customers. Right. On a platform that they've chosen to communicate with you. It's not one that you're forcing on them. If they're going to Messenger and communicating with you, that's a platform they've chosen over email, over anything else.
Yeah. So writing to suit that environment is incredibly important. All right, exactly. Great. Tone of voice. What's the next point?
My last one is don't neglect your buttons, because people are skim readers. No one reads anything, right? We all skim. I do it too. I'm a notorious skimmer because I've got to go through like so much content a day. So I often don't hear things. Voice drops are really great. If you can put those in bots, that'd be great too, but I don't know how well it will do. But don't neglect your buttons, and that, you know, you've got to make your buttons do the work. So instead of saying yes or no as an answer button, you say yes, I'd love this, or no, I wouldn't. Or we had it for a real estate bot to book a time for a open house. They said, can you attend this week? It says, yes, I can attend. No, I can't. Maybe in the future. You know what I mean? Always give them the two options, explain what they are, and then give them a third saying something else, basically.
Yeah. And that sort of triggers something in people's minds rather than just, I think people can get into that, you're right, skim reading and then just automated tapping a button because it's there.
And also, depending on what kind of age group that you deal with, like if you deal with, we've dealt with retirement villages, so lifestyle, they call them lifestyle villages now. But basically what they are is retirement villages for 55 plus. So they obviously aren't digital native. So they have a little bit of a hard time understanding it's a chat bot and what they need to do. And I remember I was in a Facebook group, and it was a business or advertising Facebook group. So it was a slightly different audience, and someone saying, oh, how can these people not understand it's a chat bot? And I said, well, have you actually said, I'm a chat bot, this is what I do, and this is how you can work with me? She's like, well, I'm finding out you need to do that now. I'm like, well, what do you expect? Like, I don't even know it's a chatbot some days. I'm just like, what is going on? Right? If you're busy, you know, you don't really pay attention. If you're 55 plus, this is not your native platform. You know, we're presenting it to them. And this was the same thing we had for the lifestyle villages, was basically we had to tell them, as you would as best practice, you know, this is a chatbot. This is how I help you. This is what you can type to me if you need help, but everything else you just keep tapping. And they're actually pretty good. I mean, they would type in occasionally, you know, questions that they wanted answered, but they'd usually tap through and then type in the question and wait for the live chat agent to come in, and it would be a real human to answer them. But you need to set up that environment first so they know what they're supposed to be doing. And copy helps in that way, saying, hey, I'm this, you tap this button. And people are really good when you say, don't type in anything right now, tap the button below because it confuses me.
Yep.
People are like, oh yeah, like I'm just going to tap the button, because people just want to type things. If it's not there, they're like, what do I do? You just tell them to type something. You just tell them to tap the button that says something else, right? And they know that. You just got to say, hey, this confuses me. Just tap one of the buttons below. Don't type anything in.
Great. I love it. 5 rules to start with. We'll put a link to one of the articles that you've done as well, which captures a lot of those and summarizes a lot of those as well. They'll all be in the show notes. So how do you go from being the traditional journalist, in inverted commas, through to then writing, you know, in a medium that, like you mentioned, is conversational, is short, snippets here and there with people? How do your skills evolve to be able to write across 2 very different mediums?
So when you're a journalist, you have different rules. Obviously, you have different ethics and laws, and you have a different house style, and you're governed by that style of writing. Like, in every journalism is different. So I've done entertainment, long form, and then I've done advertorials, which is basically what a client pays for to advertise in the newspaper. This is when advertising in a newspaper was actually worth something.
Yep.
So that is very different. So all of them are different styles of writing, and it just takes a lot of time and practice and dedication to the craft. So I wouldn't recommend that everyone goes out and you know, could do a level of skill that I'm at, because I live and breathe this. Is nothing else for me, right? So it's not sustainable for everyone. So for me, it was just, you know, I'm still a creative. that's my first and foremost thing, but it's a matter of building on those skills. So I already had the writing skills. It's just a matter of getting better at them and changing them to be like, this is a conversation. This is actually really fun. And so it would be slightly different to long form. Like everything we do, I always say to people, you can recycle content. And I think that's really important just to make sure everything across all the touch points that you have. Say you have a Facebook ad, you've got your messenger bot, you've got a blog post, you've got probably an email, and all those you've got the 4 touch points there. So I say with all of them, you can recycle content from each, you just change them a little bit. And that would be a good place to start for anyone else who wants to start going from doing email, blog post and Facebook ads to a messenger conversation. That would be the best way to start. But for me, I went from doing this, and then I was working at a startup, and I was doing coaching program startup. So I worked along with Matthew Hussey, working on all of his coaching programs, including the launch of his latest one. But I was working before that. I was working on a startup here in Melbourne, and I launched 2 of their coaching programs. So we did all of the material across everything. Like it was landing pages, it was the exercises, it was the course notes. It was like the biggest baby I've ever worked on. And from there, we found Rutger, which I'm so sorry, I can't even pronounce his surname, but I like
very smart guy.
Rutger, yes, look at Rutger, he's amazing. So he was doing a webinar with Kat Howell, and I'm like, this is it. This is like what we need to do next to launch this coaching program, because I was consulting with the CEO. I'm like, we need to do this. Like, this is before Flow Builder. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
my life, like Trilce, who was one of my bot blondes, and I, we were like, do you remember life before Flow Builder? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did build it before Flow Builder. Like, I'm pretty sure we just did it. Like, we just built it before Flow Builder. We're like, this is so much fun. Let's just build stuff.
The Wild West days of chat marketing.
Yeah, the Wild West days. You had those spider webs. You had those spider webs. Like, everything looked like a spider web. It's insane. Like, it was, right? So with my ADD, I became obsessed with things. Like, this is the type of personality that I have. So I went all in on ManyChat, like all in. So I built like 3 to 4 bots for companies I was working with at the time just to test my skills. And so from there, I grew my agency, and I've been working with, smaller brands, bigger brands, doing a lot of copy, doing a lot of consulting. So I was so like absolutely blown away when I was awarded ManyChat's Emerging Agency Award, and I was the only Aussie. I was like, what? So that was last year. So I got the award, and I'm going to do something really Aussie. So I'm very proud of my award. And if I had a pool room, my award would go straight to the pool room. That reference is going to have I know. It's like
no relevance to our overseas listeners.
I posted that in the group actually with that photo. I'm going straight to the pool room, and someone's like, "What do you mean?"
What is a pool room? Anyway, for those, I'll put the reference to that link in the show notes for those.
The iconic movie, The Castle.
Yes, an absolute classic.
A classic. So you will get it when you see this. So yeah,
exactly. I love it. Well, congratulations on winning that award. What you mentioned, you dove in headfirst into chat marketing. What did you find some of the most challenging aspects of learning how to write copy for the chatbots you were starting to build for people?
It's just a matter of like when we do things, it's a matter of time and like trying to distill. Like we dealt with. So when we built NuggetBot is a bot that we built for Days of Nuggets, which was an event benefiting Operation Underground Railroad, which raised $45,000 for that charity, which helps end child slavery. Wow. So we built that one, but it was like, because we were doing it to help the charity, there were a lot of things that we needed to include. So I find that really challenging. Like when you have like almost like legal copy and like terms and conditions, and like you've got to insert this in there, and there's a lot of information that they want, because obviously that was Days of Nuggets was an event. So we had to include the event information plus the stuff that we needed to include for Operation Underground Railroad. So when it's trying to condense so much information that you need to have, that becomes a real challenge. So that's why buttons and, sending people out to websites for terms and conditions, like there were flows that we did for beauty businesses that like we didn't have terms and conditions for, but the client wanted them in, and then the client would complain that the terms and conditions were so long. It's like, but you asked us to put them in there and we told you not to. And, it's having these conversations constantly about like, what is the best way to display like legal things that you need to have, like terms and conditions? What's the best way to display like little information that we really don't need, but we should have in there? And we're very fortunate that ManyChat has evolved to listen to those kinds of conversations that we have with them. Like before we had protected templates, before we could, kick clients out of our bot that were in there that added themselves because Facebook and ManyChat were connected. It's like these sorts of conversations that we have with ManyChat about the platform, we're very lucky that they evolve with us. So copy is just a matter of seeing like, okay, how does it work based on all this information that I know we have to include in terms of the copy, but also what are some ways that we can actually, the platform can evolve to actually support that kind of information. And thankfully it's been doing that, consistently, which has been really good.
Yeah, the growth of ManyChat's been incredibly impressive over the last few years, and particularly over the last couple of years. And that probably brings us to chat about the platform and their upcoming Conversations conference as well, which you're presenting at, and you're helping build a lot of the behind the scenes for them as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this Conversations conference, like 100% virtual this year. It's like the first time they've done virtual, but they have done an incredible job. Like Tamila, Farah, Mike, Will, everyone, Oksana, everyone on the team that I'm working closely with is incredible at, just the amount of sheer volume of stuff that we have to get done. So it's going to be absolutely like mind-blowing to see this virtual platform, to see all the caliber of speakers, because we've obviously got, Molly Pittman and Neil Patel, Damon John, Ryan Dice, all your ManyChat faves like Mackenzie, Natasha, Kelly, all of whom, have been guests with you as well. Like they're all like incredible, like the caliber of talent and like the platform and like the value. Like I know I can say it because I'm working on the copy, so I'm like biased as a content consultant with them and working on the copy. Like it really is like 15K worth of templates and workshops, and it is the amount of work that goes in it to like the like value that you get for your ticket price is incredible. Like I forget, like as I was just saying earlier, like I forget when I work on events, how many touch points there are. And so we did a lot of the ticket sales organically. So it was really, really exciting to see how much that copy makes a big difference, right? To ticket sales, how much strategy makes a big difference to ticket sales before you put ad spend in. So it's really exciting. So we did that, and we did a strategy about rewarding loyal members of ManyChat and stuff like that. So we had a really great team and really great conference ahead. So it's just really exciting to see it all come together very, very soon.
Yes, not too far away. By the time this episode comes out, it'll probably only be about a week away, but make sure that you grab your ticket to Conversations conference. Can you give us a little bit of a maybe a behind the scenes look as to some of the work that you've done or what people can expect from the conference? And obviously you mentioned that this is, it's a huge amount of work and in a space that's incredibly new. You've worked on events before, but no one's really worked in events during a pandemic and made them completely virtual. So how does that impact what you do from a copy perspective and bring it to life and still try to get that in-person experience that we're all hoping we could get but can't, but still deliver that value at the same time?
Yeah, so we did some really interesting things where we did like upgrade ticket offers, which do really well, and we talked to them about the value that they're getting. And a lot of people, like we had more Aussies. Like I think last year there were only like a handful of Aussies. This year we had a lot more Aussies come into Conversations because it is 100% virtual. So that travel cost, so with a virtual event, that's removed. So you no longer have the barrier of like travel, which is great. So that's one thing we've found has done really well. And as well as we did a lot of loyalty reward stuff. So offering certain things to certain tiers of loyalty, like pinpointing our VIPs, and that's done really well to do them. We also did a blog post of 7 expert tips on surviving a virtual event. And then what we did is we got like Molly Mahoney, we got Natasha and Kelly, Paul Barron, Trilce and Lauren, which is Mongoose Media and TBS Marketing. All of them came in and gave one tip to survive a virtual event. We put that out. We created a Spotify playlist
just
as
quickly.
well.
Yeah, well, on that as well, I was going to mention both of those things. So a couple of things on that blog post. I saw that there's a drinking bingo card game.
Yes.
Was that your idea?
No, that was all Lauren. Like she's a wild child. Out of the blondes, I thought, geez, the trick. Let's do it like thunder, Lauren.
And is the Spotify playlist yours?
That's mine.
Yeah,
I
thought so.
We had a Bot Blondes one. I'm doing a Bot Blondes one for our session. And then I'm like, you know what? I got on a content meeting with Farah, who's head of content. And I said, listen, I want to give you guys, like, let's do a Spotify playlist, because I hear word down the street for us cool kids is that it also helps with search functionality. Like people will find you in Spotify, and it has really helped some brands. And I'm like, okay, so we've got to do one. And then I made it a team building thing where I said, I'll add the first few. So mine are all like the first few songs, the hustle, like,
yeah. Yeah,
Kanye.
I've been jamming to that for the last
Yeah,
day or so, and
hype squad stuff, because no one's gonna have their own like hype squad anymore to come on stage like Ezra did last year. He had Ari introduce him in the full hype squad. It was amazing. So no one's gonna have that. So we need to replicate that in a virtual setting. So how do we do that? I'm like, my background's music, so I can't play, but I worship it, right? So I'm going to do this playlist. We're going to do the hype squad. Then we open it up to the entire ManyChat team. So everyone got to add songs. So the entire team based out of San Francisco and Russia all added. So that's a mix of countries there. We've got Aussie hip hop, because the part of the Russian team asked for Russian hip hop. I said, that's fine. And I said, as long as I can add Aussie hip hop, and everyone's fine with that. So you've got some Hilltop Hoods there. Listen, Esso, you're welcome.
Yep, so, I did notice that. It was very good. I liked it when it came on.
Yeah, so it's a really fun playlist. So you can play that. So we tried to do some stuff that was like your hype squad stuff to get hyped up for Mike's keynote. And then we've got some stuff where you can really focus and listen. And that was one of the team members in Russia said we need some stuff for the, focus deep work sessions. I'm like, yeah, that's a really great idea. So he added those. So it was a really great collaborative experience for the team. And then we released it out into the world, and you guys can, give it a life of its own as it goes. So we just thought that would be really cool. So that's another thing the virtual event can have. Unfortunately, we can't play it in like a setting where everyone can hear it. But I think that's really important to have something that kind of unites us, as well as, having all these other elements, which is obviously the email, and you've got blog posts going out. We've got social media posts going out. So it's just everything, trying to talk about the benefits of coming, the value that you get, the great speakers that we got. I mean, I'm excited to see Billie Jean, because I've never actually seen him apart from his own stuff. So I'm excited what he's going to bring. Oh, and obviously we can announce Stan, who's the VP of Messenger, is going to be there as well, doing a fireside chat. So that's very exciting.
It's going to be a lot of announcements made as well, and some great presentations from people that are knowledgeable in the bot space, but also just have some amazing stories and entrepreneurial stories as well. I've heard about the chatbot for the conference that is going to be quite a big chatbot, I've heard, and very interactive. And how do you, because of this conference, which I've heard is also sold about 5 times as many tickets as usual, which means that you're going to have a broader range of obviously backgrounds and people, but also knowledge levels of chat marketing as well. How do you cater to the people that are just dipping their toe in signing up for ManyChat, and maybe just have a default reply and a welcome message, through to the people that are doing really advanced stuff and integrations and API and AI sort of things in their chatbot as well?
So the chatbot is actually, it has mobile wallet. So Rupert is going to help out with that. So we've got various people working on different elements. So we've got quizzes, and we've got, obviously you can sign up for things with event reminders and stuff like that. But we have, part of the conference was going to be translated, because we have a huge Latin American community. So part of it was going to be translated in Spanish, and I still think part of that is happening, not for the chatbot, but just for part of the sessions, which is going to happen.
That's great.
But I think just the chatbot just follows best practices. Like we were speaking to Natasha at School of Bots, so we're working really closely. So she came up with, this is what we should focus on, and I said, like, we've got to add this in here, this in here, this in here, this in here, based on bringing all the pieces together. From we've got to meet the ManyChat fam quiz, we've got an emoji game, we've got a selfie frame, we've got all these really cool things happening in the bot that's coming up, and just making sure that everyone has fun with it, and it's really easy to navigate and easy to understand. And that's what we've been working on doing, to make sure that it does all that stuff. It's beneficial to the conference. It's telling people what to turn up to and when, and also allows them to like have a bit of freedom and have a bit of fun. And that's like the main thing you can do for a virtual conference, and for any conference, is just have these things going out and make it fun and make it interactive, because that was part of what we had to do to try and unite people, especially because we're all in different countries. We all can't travel. We all can't physically see each other. At least we can share this experience of the conference, or share the experience within the bot as well, which is really important. So that's the main thing I think that needed to come from that, was make sure we have all these elements working in harmony, and that they're doing what they need to do to make it like a fun, enjoyable, and like noteworthy experience.
Yeah, this is going to be the new normal for a lot of events going forward, right? And a lot of conference events, and I'm sure that a lot of other conference organisers are going to have a pretty close eye on what ManyChat are doing for their conference and how they're integrating, obviously the chatbot, but everything else into the event as well to bring it to life. Where would you, let's move forward a little bit from you've evolved from a journalist through to now copywriting and mainly focusing in the chatbot space. Where do you think your career direction, your life direction maybe would have gone without the introduction or the rise of chatbot marketing?
So like when you have anything like this, like, we have a pandemic and like, I think we had 10 years of acceleration in like 2 or 3 years or something, 2 or 3 months. Like it's crazy, right? To think how fast everything has changed from like January. You're right. So we're like plodding along. But I think, regardless, like everything I had to do was pivot because of technology. So obviously, newspapers are no longer a thing. Print is not so much a thing. We had to pivot to digital. So I would still be writing because the wonderful thing about my craft is I can pivot with technology. I did it from journalism to print to digital. I taught myself to code and did my own online magazine, which was Soot Magazine. Like I did a lot of things, which still this is a skill that people need to understand, that it's a skill that helps you. If you do it well, it helps you sell more, do more, like convert more people, right, into loyal followers or buyers or whatever you want to do. And I do understand, like there was an article floating around that there was an AI that had written an article. There was AI that wrote an article, and if you actually read it, it's actually really badly written because it's AI. And I'm like, well, why would you want AI to write an article about how it's not going to destroy the world? It was just a weird thing. If you can find it, like I'll find it and we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. This weird article. I was like, wow, that's really badly written. It's great, but it's kind of like a iRobot kind of.
You can tell that it's written by a robot.
Stream of consciousness kind of thing. It's like it's not. You know what I mean? Like there's still a need for a writer. There's still a need, whether it's a storyteller, whether it's a fiction writer, whether it's anyone who does what I do, which is conversion copywriting. It's all very different skill level. And I think the main thing was when I saw Margaret Atwood just before we had lockdown here. I saw Margaret Atwood in February. She came to Australia, and now Margaret Atwood's 80 years old. Did you know that? Like I was like, amazing woman. Got on a plane all the way from like Canada, and like that's a long flight.
She's a trooper. Yeah.
Props to her, right? And the amazing thing she was talking about writing and The Handmaid's Tale and the amazing things that she had worked on, and how much that she had worked on the show and appeared on Handmaid's Tale because she, had created these characters, and obviously they took a life of their own, having the showrunner take the characters, a different direction to what she had. And I just thought like that's so like her stories and being a writer is so important. Like there's a full, like it was the Art Centre in Melbourne, so it's a full theatre of people, just because her stories are so powerful and they're all based in real events as well. But I just thought that is so important to people, that storytelling and writing is so important to people, that like I would never, not do that. I would probably in a different area of writing, but I would still be doing this because it's just something that I inherently, like I can't not, you know what I mean? When you have something, you can't not do it. And that's me, like I can't not do it.
Yeah, I love it. And chat marketing's opened up, and we're very happy that you've chosen copywriting, particularly in chatbots, as your focus going forward, which has led to some great partnerships as well. And you have the Bot Blondes, so it sounds like the Charlie's Angels of chatbot marketing. Is that what?
I love that. We gave the Charlie's Angels of chatbots to Mackenzie, Kelly and Molly. We thought they would do that.
Does that make
like they're kick-ass? We're just like hanging out on the side.
Does that make Zuckerberg Charlie, or
we thought Mike?
Mike, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Mike has to be in charge, of course.
I love it. All right, so tell me a little bit about Bot Blondes.
So we actually started as a joke. Like nobody realized it was a joke. We actually, I suggested Bot Blondes one day in a group chat, and then we changed our group chat to Bot Blondes TM, and like it was a joke. Everything we created about, I'm like, oh my god, it's so funny. We're 3 blondes and we like make chatbots. How funny would it be? Like no one realizes that's the origin of it. We were just joking around, and then we started doing it, and then people started taking notice because people were actually referring to us 3 as Bot Blondes. So they would actually write emails to us saying, hello, Bot Blondes. It's quite funny because I felt like I'd screenshot it every time and just put it in the group chat and write in all caps, hello, Bot Blondes. Because I just feel like you've just become this thing that's larger than you. And it was kind of funny because it was just a joke that we had started. And we thought this would be really funny in the way that Dolly Parton subverts the dumb blonde stereotype, and the way that Paris Hilton does it with a brand persona. We just thought this is really funny to us to do because we were so strategic in everything we did after that. And now, made fun of ourselves and went with that, and people think it's really funny, and we're just like, we'll just go with it. But what we did was initially our thoughts were, tech is historically male. Every industry that I have been in has been historically male. So journalism, especially music journalism, I was the only female Australian freelance writer on the team. The only one. Like, that's
sad,
pretty
but
shocking.
it doesn't surprise me. Yeah,
pretty shocking. Like, I was like pretty shocked when I found out. So we're I always historically choose, for some reason, I'm always in fields that I'm usually the only woman or one of very few women. And for us to be in a tech field that has so many great women in there, we thought this needs to be a space for women to actually be able to have a career and be able to be heard and actually talk and be listened to and actually be active in. And it's something that's really, safe for them. And I know some people don't see it as being as much as an issue as it is, but it really is an issue when you see the statistics around, the gender pay gap. And, obviously because we have as women, we are primary caregivers. We also have children, so we need to take time off work. So in all, when it comes to retirement age, women are more likely to be homeless than any other age, in that age group. So this is a really real thing. So when people want to build a career and they're really talented in something that's a historically male dominated space, we thought chat marketing is actually really female dominated for a tech space, right? So we just thought,
I've noticed that. Yeah, it's which is great. There's some very, very smart and very talented ladies in the chat marketing space, and I enjoy this community a lot more than a lot of other digital communities I've been part of, because it does have a great mix of both genders. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love I had to do a post, if we saw my post, where I was like, I'm not hating on men, or something. And I did the hashtag we love the D, and Kelly Noble Mirabella, bless her, I love her. She comes up and she goes, oh my God, I love that hashtag. I'm like, let's use this one, because people felt like I was, being unfair about gender and making it a thing. And I wasn't. I was just saying historically, and in my experience working at being a woman in male dominated fields, this is my experience. So we needed to make it a real conversation for women to say, hey, there are several, it's diversity and inclusion that we want to talk about. So there are several avenues that you can take, and this is one of them as a viable option to actually have that. So we created this platform. So it's a destination where we have a blog, and then we're doing a whole bunch of other things that we also want to bring, as well as running our own businesses. Each one of us, so Chelsea and Lauren and myself, all run our own businesses, as well as having this as our baby, as our collective child, right? Basically.
Yeah.
So that's why. So that's why we created it. That's why it exists. And it's just to say, hey, this is where you can learn things. This is, women can come and join us, and we're really, want to support and celebrate the fact that we're here. And also Conversations Conference also has Chat Marketing Women Who Rock panel, which includes some of the team leaders from ManyChat. So that's going to be really interesting too. And they'll talk about, working and it's an inclusion and diversity panel, and they'll talk about those sorts of things. So it's really important just to have these conversations and, make sure that, women feel represented and everyone feels represented in the field that they choose.
Yeah, I think that's a really important issue, and congratulations on starting Bot Blondes and focusing on that, because it isn't just your experience, it is a lot of people's experience, and it is a real issue and something that, pardon the pun, we need to have a conversation about, and we need to have a discussion about. So congratulations to you. Kudos to ManyChat to focus on that and to have it as an issue at the conference as well, because I think these are things that need to happen from an inclusivity perspective going forward for a lot of different tech spaces out there. That's a really important issue. I'm glad you brought that up. For anyone that's looking for more information about Bot Blondes as well, we'll have the links in the show notes. Your personality is obviously very vibrant, much like your hair. You have this, chatting to you today, I can tell, I'm sure the listeners can hear in your voice, you have this innate ability and passion to be able to also pivot down different channels where your talent and taking your talent and reshaping it to suit that environment itself. It's obviously been, I'm not sure when you started as a journalist, but it's been a journey obviously for you.
A very number of years. I'm 245 years old in vampire years.
So how much have your successes to where you've worked with a number of different brands over these years, how much of your success comes down to hard work and how much comes down to, just pure luck and being in the right spot at the right time?
So the way I answer is a very smart person once said, luck is a combination of preparation and opportunity. And I believe that's what it is. So I don't believe anyone in business right now, today, even in the past, would ever say that luck got them where they are. It may have helped them, like in certain circumstances, but it's not the only factor. Like you could, by pure chance, be in a room with someone who could really help you in your business. But if you're not prepared for what you're going to say to them or how you're going to approach them, you miss that opportunity, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a saying, like, if you're always ready, you never need to get ready. So if you're always in a state of like taking risks and being ready, you never need to get ready. So I think I have worked hard for everything I do, every single time. Like it might not look like that, but because like, Instagram and everything, you portray a certain thing. Like I don't want to be like showing you when I'm like crying in a corner because I lost a deal. Like, cause that's not sexy. Like no one wants to see that. Like sometimes I'll put like when I'm depressed, and I'm in lockdown for like 24/7. Can someone please send me that? I'll do stupid things like that because I try to make the best situation of what it is. Like, thankfully, I've got another friend in the UK. We're both trading like what headspace meditation we're doing, and that's really helped. So that's really helped us reframe because you have to frame your experience based on what you're in and not let like everything overwhelm you. And so that's what I'm finding. We're coping because we have a lot of mechanisms to go. But anyway, back onto that. So I work for every single thing I've had every single time. So I wrote my first article for Rolling Stone at 22, and that was a few years ago now, because as I said, my vampire age is 245. So I've been writing for the newspaper for about 2 years before that. So I did a lot of stories for free. I was working I was a cadet journalist. So we got paid like $17 an hour. So it'd be better for me to go work in retail. So I did stories for free because I just wanted them to have an entertainment section, and I wanted to build this relationship with record labels and touring companies and have that represented in the Fairfax local newspapers. So I talked my editor into allowing me to do music pieces. So I had my folio and I was ready. So I called the Rolling Stone editor and I said, like, I wanted to do this, this, and this. And basically his answer was no. Like, he doesn't want anything to do with me, whatever. And I had like $30 in, like, when you're earning like $17 an hour, you earn like nothing as a journalist. So I had like $30 in my bank account, and I'm like, I really want to do this. Like, there's like nothing else I want to do than write for Rolling Stone because I have all this skill. I really want to do it. I think this is like Cameron Crowe almost famous level fangirling right now. I want to do this. Like, I believe in, it was Jan Wenner who created Rolling Stone. Like, I believed in like what he created for music. I believed in journalism. I believed in like everything that they had done. And I'm like, this really needs to be a thing. So my mum goes, you're going to Sydney. So we're in Sydney to Melbourne just for our international. It's an hour flight, but it's not cheap.
No.
It's about $130 one way, depending on when you go.
Yep.
So I had like $30 left. My mum's like, you're going to Sydney. I'm going to lend you the money and you're going to get a plane ticket. You're going to Sydney. So I emailed the editor and I said, I'm coming to Sydney. You give me a day. Like, I'm going to be there in Sydney. I'm coming. And like, he gave me a day, and thankfully he met with me somewhere in Surrey Hills. Their offices just outside of Sydney at the time in Surrey Hills. And so I was also at 22, my first time on a plane. So I hadn't like, we're not talking like crazy money throwing around here. We're talking about like work hard your whole life, sort of deal here. So I got on my plane. I had a meeting with him. I showed him my folio, and he like gave me my first story. And my first story was on the ARIA Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is for all our internationals. This is like, you guys have your Hall of Fame in the US, we have an Australian version. And that's basically what it was, honoring all our, Max Merritt and all those great musicians who we love. I think Casey Chambers was there. It was awesome. Yeah, so nice. That is like, this is talking about like, I am like opportunity and preparation. I had both of those come together, and like, luckily I'm very lucky to have a family that supports me, because like, you don't ever want to have the life of a total creative where, you're penniless. So that was one. And the other one was, I was the only journalist to get an on-ground interview with director Tim Burton. And that took me 9 months. Wow. So like, there's that sort of tenacity that you have to have, as well as like the skill, the talent, the tenacity, and then being ready at any time. Because I got the phone call less than 24 hours before that Tim Burton had agreed to do the interview. I had 10 minutes and I had less than 24 hours notice. So I was like, I was already ready with the questions, because they said there's maybe a slight chance after you've like stalked him and his agent and stalked his agent's assistant that they may just agree to you. I'm like, wow. Okay, we're going to do it.
That's such a great story. I think a lot of people can take a lot out of that, as far as that combination of tenacity and skill and passion. My Rolling Stone editor was like, you are nothing but tenacious. I'm like, yeah, if someone's going to give me a story, like, I worked hard for like that Tim Burton one. Like, I think they got an email, like Tim Burton's assistant, Tim Burton's manager's assistant got an email from me, and he was lovely.
his name was Howard. And he was like, yeah, we're going to, like, I'm just checking. Tim's on set at the moment, but I'm going to check and we've got you, like, on a list, like, somewhere. I was working, like, so many angles for 9 months to get Tim to agree. So we finally got it. But, you know, the amount of things that you had to do just to get to the point where you got the contact details, this is when, you know, Hunter.io, which is the one you use to find emails.
Yep.
That wasn't a thing. This was like IMDb premium. I had to like I had to get all the details for his agent. Then they were the wrong details. So I rang up. It was William Morris Endeavor, which is a big entertainment company that handles a lot of Hollywood celebrities and Hollywood directors. And I rang up and I pretended that I had the wrong email address because I had the name. So I rang up the reception and I said, hey, I'm calling... right? And I gave them an email address that would have been close to what their email address would have been, and she gave me the right one over the phone.
That's amazing. That's such a good tactic.
They were, you don't need to do it anymore because Hunter.io will do it for you. Yeah. Hunter.io saved my life.
But still, I like the calling up the receptionist tactic.
Yeah, the reception. And it's so funny because I'd never been to LA. Like, you know, I never left Australia at that point. It was just like hearing them sound like every American film you'd ever hear when they answer the phone is so funny. Like, it's still so funny to me when they answer the phone. You just imagine them sitting in their little LA you know, building or whatever. It's really funny. So yeah, she gave me the email address.
It's an experience. I love that. I love that. I'm sure our overseas visitors will be going, what the hell are they talking about a US accent for? It is actually quite unique to us. Maybe it's unique for them listening to us as well.
She had a Valley Girl accent. So linguistically, for me as a writer, like the Valley Girl accent, I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Try not to lose your call right now. You need to get an email address. Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's wrap up. Is there anything I haven't asked you yet do you think would deliver some value to the listeners out there?
I think we've covered everything, but if you are, you know, serious about chat marketing and you really want this to be something that, you know, you're not quite sure about, you're just interested, like, come to Conversations 2020. Like, you know, even if, like, we've done, my bot blondes and I have done everything. My bot blondes and I have done everything we can together to help people build a business. So our session is 3 blondes, 1 business plan, how to turn $500 into a 6-figure chat marketing agency. So we've basically stripped it right back for newbies. We've made it super accessible, even if you've never built a chatbot in your life or you only have $500 in your pocket. And, you know, like, we are just like the tip of the iceberg. If this is not your thing, you're not interested in that, like, just come along and see like Molly Pittman talk about, like, she is a dynamite when it comes to Facebook ads. And then you've got all your ManyChat faves. Like, I can't speak this enough. And I know I have like a vested interest, but like, I wouldn't side with anything that I didn't feel was actually doing something that was really beneficial. And I think this is a conference, 100% virtual, the team behind it, the product, everyone involved with it has really put their heart and soul into it. And like, it's going to be such a kick-ass event. Like, I am so excited. Like, get me there now. Like, if we could go and meet everyone again, hopefully 2021, we can all meet it. But it's like a real riot. It's going to be so good.
I love it. If people want to experience or get in touch with you and experience, let's see some of your work outside of ManyChat and Conversations, where can they find you?
So you can just find me anywhere. I'm on Medium. I've got my Messenger bot, Instagram. If you just look up Angela Allan, my surname's Allan. So yeah, because people put in Ian and it takes them to a Harvard professor, which is not me. No. But if you want to come check me out, I'm always responding to things. I'm chatting away. I'm doing something crazy on Instagram, probably adopting another koala like I did the other day. Anything like that, just come and say hi. And we've got a whole bunch of resources if you're interested in anything to do with chat marketing as well. And I can direct you to either I have it or someone knows someone who can help you. So we're all here to go and, you know, make this thing awesome.
Perfect.
To do with chat marketing.
I love it. You're doing a lot for the chatbot community. We all really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you being a guest today. And chatting to a fellow Aussie has been a real hoot. I'm not sure whether that reference will even make sense to people out there as well. But I really enjoyed it.
We need to teach them some
slang. Yeah. We might need to have a glossary of terms, I think, maybe for this episode so people can decipher and maybe translate exactly what we're talking about. But thank you once again for being an amazing guest. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate being here and talking about all things chat marketing. So thank you. And yes, great to talk to a fellow Aussie. We are like a rare type. So it's been really exciting.
Love it. Thank you. All right, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Angela Allan. She has so much energy and it was a lot of fun during that interview. So thanks again, Angela, for being on the podcast. As we mentioned, if you haven't got your ticket to Conversations 2020, what are you waiting for? Depending on when you're listening to this, it may have already been, but it is on October 6th to 8th. And you can get your ticket with 10% off, which I've secured from the guys over at ManyChat at conversationsconference.com, and then enter the code CHATPOD. That's CHATPOD. Anyway, I look forward to next week's chat with the guests that we've got on. Until then, it's bye for now.